Hey, thank y'all for joining in and tuning in to a special edition of Speak on It. Y'all know what it is. It's Awareness Monday. I got six brothers with me today. I mean, who's passionate about what they believe in. So we just want to bring some kind of awareness to you guys. We're talking about the black man and the religion. So without further ado, y'all know me. I'm Dom. I'm the host. I got my co-host with me, my man Tamon. And I got four other more educated brothers, man, who is passionate about what they do. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. I'm gonna start off with Pastor Tim Palmer. You can go ahead and say something to the people.
Hey, I'm Pastor Tim Palmer. I'm out of Salisbury, Maryland, graphic design major. Hey, I'm just Tim at the end of the day.
Mike, you there? Mike, you off mute. So go ahead, Mike. I'll let you take next.
My name is Michael Potter, graduate from Morgan State University, class of 2007, sociology major.
Cool. Mr. The Truth, go ahead, man.
Peace. My name is God Allah Truth. I go by Truth Hall. Also Morgan State alumni. Shout out to Mike right there. You know, communications major, class of 2004. Guess I'm just here to speak on it. That's the name of the show. You know,
Yes,
so I'm here to
sir.
speak on it.
Yes,
Peace.
sir. And I got my brother with me, man, Eric Gross. Go ahead, E. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Mute. Let me unmute. All right. That's my baby right there. My name is Eric Gross. At least that's my given name. Some know me as Ezekiel Ben Yaakov. Basically, man, what can I say about myself? I am not a college graduate. I had
full of knowledge.
I had an exceptional mother who was a college graduate. May she rest in power, but she imparted a lot of knowledge in me and a hunger and thirst for knowledge. I really have a focus in ancient Near Eastern cultures as well as West African spiritualities, and how that can help us move forward as Black men in America. On top of that, I saw that Pastor Tim, graphic design major. I love it. I'm also a graphic designer. So that's near and dear to my heart. And as far as graphic design goes, my whole thing is taking that and really using imagery to rebrand Africans or so-called African Americans, and also not just as a people and how we're presented, but our businesses as well, having excellent branding so that we could be viewed as competitors on a global scale.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
dope.
Awesome. Oh, look at all these educated Black men we got in here, man, who passionate about what they do. So we're gonna jump right into the show tomorrow. I don't know if you want to kick off with a question or if you want me to just go ahead and dive in.
Hey man, Tim here. I'm a Morgan State dropout. Shout out to class of 2006, 2007. I guess I should have been in that. But the question that I'll start off with is when you think of the word religion, what is it that you think of? And I'll start with you, Dom.
When I think of the word religion, one of the things that I think about is just a bunch of BS. I mean, that's just my personal opinion on it. I think it's was brought upon to control certain sectors of people, certain sections of people, specifically Black folk to me. But I think it expanded to other people. But I just think it's just a form of or a way, another form of control. So that's what I think about when I think of religion, a way to control somebody.
You can chime in. Anyone?
Oh, okay. I would like to do it just to play on words. All words come from something. So when you break down a religion, you get the word rely on, and in the middle you got G. So to rely on God. That's just me playing with words and just doing with building on culture. But I see people having these scriptures, and I believe all the holy books have truth in them. The way you manifest things in your own head, there's a meme going around and say, how do you do 8 + 6? That's a funny question, right? How do you do 8 plus 6 in your head? We all know the answer is obviously 14, 8 plus 6. But what you do, you add 8 and 4, then get 12, then add 2 more, or do you round it to 10? Like, we all go through a process of understanding 8 plus 6. Like, we all go through a process of reading the Holy Word. And we all go through a process of visioning God. The holy books in general don't ever tell people to do anything ignorant. All the parables in them have truth and morals to them, no matter which holy book you actually talking about. So you can tell what purpose have been written for. I agree with you, young brother, that they have been used to manipulate series of people throughout. More wars have been started in the name of God than anything else. You know, more people died in the name of God. So it has been manipulated. But is there truth there? Absolutely. Is there a guideline for you to follow to rely on God or whatever you envision as God? Absolutely. But then it becomes tribal and other things can come from it. But I can see religion. Religion, I'm a 5%, obviously. We from Nation of Gods on the earth. So if you know anything about it, it's the culture, not a religion. So we're not a doctrine religion. But however, I respect my auntie, my grandma told me she praying for me and things got right. I know that's her energy. Wherever it's going, wherever her God, how she see God, I know that positive energy towards God helped me in my life. So I'm with it. Although I'm not gonna choose one. It ain't because my understanding of it, like you said. But it's to rely on God. If I ain't get too wordy with that, you know what I mean?
That's perfect. That's perfect.
No, that's good.
Piggyback on, well, I'll let everybody answer, and then I'll piggyback on what I meant by the way, a form of control, to control. But go ahead, Pastor Tim. Since you off mute, I'll go ahead and let you talk next.
Oh man, well, just to answer the question, I would say religion is just a form of beliefs that somebody holds dear and true. I won't, Webster says it one way, Wikipedia says it another way. But yet, all religion is kind of based on reasoning, some knowledge, their perception, their reasoning, their memory, their testimony. So, yeah, I would just say religion is somebody's belief system, their structure. Without getting too deep into it, because I think that's about to come. Y'all about to unpack it, so I'll save the rest for later.
Go ahead, E. Well, I'm gonna leave E for last. Go ahead, Mike.
I actually agree with Pastor Tim. It is actually a belief system, and that's what I think of when I hear the word religion. It's what a person believes in. As True said, no matter what book has its good points, and it may have its bad points to some, but it's whatever you take from it and what you believe in.
Good stuff. Come on, did you have an answer for that, or did you want me to go straight to Eric?
No, you can go to Eric and then I'll go.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So me, man, I love words. I like to go into the etymology of the word, the origin of a word, to really determine what it means. I kind of went through. I'm busy, babe. I kind of went through a place where I was being brought up in the Christian faith, and I was religious. I was proud of being religious. And when I say proud, I don't mean like prideful or whatever. I was, I would let everybody know, like I am a religious person. I'm religiously Christian, devout Christian, right? And then when I got into Christianity, there was this kind of this I call it and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, but I call it a bumper sticker phrase, that Christianity is about a relationship, not a religion. So then I began to hate this word religion and be anti-religion. And then I started seeing religion as a construct to control, kind of like what Brother Dom said. But then as I began to learn the meaning of the word itself and what it's defined as, then I kind of fell more of where truth is. And that's where I am right now. So religion goes back to a Latin word that just means to bind or to be bound to. And when I say bound to, I mean in the sense of devotion. So it's this bond or this devotion between the mortal and the divine. So whether that divine be your you have a pantheon of deities that you observe or acknowledge, or you worship Allah, or you worship Yahweh, or you see Jesus the Christ as one with Yahweh. Whatever your bind or your commitment or your devotion, your path to your relationship with that, that is what is defined as religion. So in Islam, religion is all of it. It's the praying 5 times a day. It's the pillars. It's the whole 9 yards. In most Western Christianity, it's the apostolic creed. It's the paying your tithe. It's the taking communion. It's saying the sinner's prayer. That is, by definition, your religion. I get what Dom is saying, whereas it has absolutely been used to control people. But in its essence, none of these things were founded with that goal in mind. They were founded with to create a path for the flesh to commune with the divine. And that's my view on religion, as far as by definition, not as far as what it can be used for. Is it good or bad? I guess I'll get into that later.
Nah, before Taman speak, man, I promise y'all, I am not doing this show from prison. I'm looking at myself and I'm looking like, yo, this is like I'm looking like I'm in a 9x5. I'm free, y'all. I'm home. Go ahead, Taman.
Yeah, you do look like you locked up back there, man. But I mean, it kind of sums up pretty much what everybody is pretty much saying. In a sense, I see religion as rules. I do see religion the way that I was taught and brought up. It was so many constructs of what you had to do, what you couldn't do, and really, it's like you said, Dom. It's, in my opinion, it's a control mechanism. Where it comes from, where it derives from, it's needless to say, it's plagiarism at its finest, and manipulation at its all-time high. But in the truest sense, I think that it's a control mechanism. So that would be my opinion on religion.
I got you. So, like I said, to expound on my answer, when I said it was controlling, right? Because I'm real big on religion. I'm real big on relationships, like almost everybody said, what Eric said, right? So you have a relationship with Allah, you feel me? Or you have a relationship, or you have a relationship with the earth. That's what a lot of people would say, right? So when I talk about when I say it's a control mechanism, it's how it's been used. But in the essence, in the word, when you talk about the definition of it, I can say I religiously work out, right? It's what I'm devoted to. I'm a religious reader. It's what I'm devoted to. So in the essence of the word, it means to do or to be devoted to what you believe. I'm devoted to this belief system. But religion in itself, in its totality, how it's been used, no matter if you're a Christian or you believe in Muslim or whatever that you believe, to me, how it's been used as a control mechanism to keep you in this bubble or to keep you in this box. One of the things what I love about this show, Tamai used to say this to me about a while back, and even me and Eric that talk about it, is why do we see so many white Jesuses in the church, right? Why do we see so many white Jesus on the cross, right? Or why do we see him stretched out on the cross in and of itself? Because I think that is another topic. But why do we see all these things, right? Because it's what they want you to see. It's what they want you to believe. So to me, when I think about the word religion, it's they put all these things in front of you to try to control a narrative that they want you to believe. And that's when I'm saying what I think of the word religion, that's what I see when I think of the word religion. Anybody else want to talk about that? Or
I mean, you said a lot. One of the things is why is that white Jesus in the church?
Man, well, shoot. Why since I opened up a can of worms,
yeah, you did.
Talk about that.
Yeah, you did.
I mean, you gotta think about the writers, the authors. I mean, that answers it for you. Like I always tell my children, I've been teaching for 14 years in the classroom. Like if you do a project with a group of black children, you say create your own dollar bill. Like go ahead, just make your own dollar bill. Who you think they're gonna put on a dollar bill? Somebody that looks like them. You know, if you can envision God without somebody painting the portrait for you, you're gonna think God looks like you. Obviously, and then even in the scriptures, you're gonna manipulate his words, so you're gonna interpret it how you want to. But it's very obvious as to why we see a white Jesus, our portrait, our color Jesus. It's not. I mean, it ain't hard science. You got to prove science wrong to say these people from this land look that way or these people from this time looked a certain way. But then you gotta you can't cop out with the word religion when you talk about the race of Christ in particular, because Christ was a man. So if Christ was a man, then born of woman, you have to. You don't have to assign him one of these black, white, whatever. But let's be honest, he got a tone, he has a flesh, he even got teenage years that's unwritten about. He got a lot of stuff we don't know, but he's a man like us. And that's the most interesting thing about the Bible is all the red words. The man, this man of God. And that's what we, as 5%ers, our whole thing is like, if you try and be a Christian to be Christ-like, then you probably just like a 5%er. Because to be Christ-like, it means to follow these set of rules and to bear witness that you God. Even when in the face of people he knew was going to kill him, like, yo, who is you, bro? You know you're going around, they saying you the son of man, you the Messiah. He's like, I am who they say I am. I am who they say I am. And I know you're supposed to kill me for it. And I'm not scared, but this is who I am. And if we are Christ-like, we got to walk with that same faith or that same energy. That's what connects us to God. I don't think there's any separation from God, no matter how you picture him. Because I ain't really even got time to talk about race and God. It's a non-factor to me. It's a real non-factor. You want to talk about his history. You can't even talk about God. We ain't even find you here first. And I ain't trying to be racist or nothing. But historically, you couldn't have been first because you're not first. Like, go find you first. Go show me some lands where you scientifically, let's get off religion. Let's get off opinion. Just use science and math and use history to explain a lot of things. Because when we get to religion and get to the times in the holy books, we get lost. We can't prove none of that. We can't even spin most of that off. But when you get to like history repeating itself and the energy of humans today and what's happening, then you be like, oh, those are God's people. That's what they mean by this tribe. And those are somebody else's people. And if you don't believe that in the flesh, then I don't know how you believe in God and the devil. If you don't believe in angels and demons or devils and gods in the flesh, you can't believe in them on a spiritual level. So we can't even talk about it. So when we talk about God being white or Jesus being white or him being black, we got to talk about God in the flesh. Somebody has to talk about God in the flesh. So I don't want to talk about him being black or white unless we're going to talk about that God comes in the form of man, at least at one point. And if we are Christ-like, then we must do the same. And we black men. That's all I got to say. I'm sorry, my fault. I'm ranting.
Good. That's what we listen. The show about speaking on it, man. It's about speaking your truth, right, and speaking on topics and opinions that we feel as though that we're passionate about. So what I want to do is I want to go to Pastor Tim, because he is in that Christian faith, and I wanted to get his perspective on that. Why we see so many white Jesuses in the church.
Oh man. Well, on a keynote, I would say, the word religion or the concept of religion started showing up like 1500, 15, 16, 17, 1800s or something like that, right? So the initial expression was just it being a way of life. So when we think about like the rules and the construct, yes, like somebody took our way of life and just branded it almost, right? So they took it, branded it, used it for the wrong reasons. But when I look at when I do my research in Black studies and stuff like that, you see Black Jesuses overseas. The thing is, when you get into the whole Christopher Columbus thing, they brought over their concept. So a group of people who are not the majority bring over their concept of who Jesus is to this supposedly new world to them, right? So you see that kind of just bleed into everything else. But if you go over to Europe, if you go over to India and all these other places where you see the finger of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, there are very diverse pictures of Jesus or Christ, Yeshua. So I feel like because we're in America and sometimes we're so far removed and you have very few people who want to go back over to that side and experience and see the cultural nuances of it. And most Black people, unfortunately, they're not reading their Bible in context. So they believe whatever they see and they don't study themselves to prove. Like, so I went to art school. So it was everybody and their mama there, like Gothics, 5%ers, Muslims, Gothics, all of them, right? And I started to figure out that these people weren't demonic. These people were, but they believed wholeheartedly in the group, in the cultural nuances that they were raised in. So when I look at, white Jesus, I'm like, okay, you were raised in a house, or the painter, you believe Jesus was that way because that's how he was presented to you, and nobody in your community saw him any other way. So that's what we get. But what they call them woke Christians. There's a group of people who are believers who've been here for a minute that never subscribed to white Jesus. And when they started talking about white Jesus, then they were like, "Oh, well, you're making it a race thing." Well, if the image that we're worshiping is white, then it kind of bleeds back into cultural trauma through slavery, which strikes a whole nerve. So yeah, I would just say the reason why you see white Jesus, because again, if you go as far as you go back, Christianity was used as a way to help people become more moral. When you see Jesus comes, he's like, "Yo, everything else was good, but at the end of the day, I came to fulfill the law." And well, who are we gonna call your disciples? Those who follow me, right? So we weren't even called Christians in Antioch; we were called followers of the way, right? So the whole Christianity thing was actually a derogatory statement that they made to make fun of the people who were following Jesus. So even some of the nuances of how we got Christianity, it's just kind of crazy. But like I said, it takes you on so many different bird paths. But at the end of the day, to answer your question, the reason why we got white Jesus is because the people who came over to America, that's what they believed. And then they kind of bled that into a nation. But if you go overseas, there's other cultural nuances where you see a darker tone Jesus, not a white guy.
Love it. Love that answer. Before I chime into that, I want to go ahead and get Brother Michael's view and opinion on that.
For me, when it comes to the idea of a white Jesus, it's, as Pastor Tim said, it was given to me. So for me, religion has only been around for a short time. So I always have pondered what my ancestors had to believe in before Christ was given to me. So for me, I was given it, the white Jesus. So I knew no other choice but to worship the white Jesus. So I accepted it as my own until I got old enough to the age to question, well, why is he white? And then you read some passages that contradict themselves. His hair, his skin tone, as Brother True said, when you start talking about him in the flesh, I'm not getting the full story from my European counterparts that are giving me the story. So I haven't had the experience personally of going overseas and being abreast of the darker tone pictures of Jesus or Christ. But I agree with Pastor Tim. It was given to us, so that's why it's here.
E, you wanted to chime in on that?
Yeah. I came in at the end point because I had to take care of something, but Brother Mike's that ending statement is 100% true. It's still here because it was given to us. Not actually no, because then that takes the onus off of the Black leaders in the church, though. It got here because it was given to us. It's still here because Black leaders in the church have come to hold that image near and dear to their heart. Let's face it, that's what it is. When you watch The Passion of the Christ and you don't feel some type of hang up about the person you call your Messiah looking like that, being Jim Caviezel, that doesn't do anything to you. That doesn't bat an eye, but yet you feel the passion of the story and you see him and you hold him and that image of him and that likeness of him near and dear to your heart. The emotional response to that movie is not one of outrage because why he gotta look like that. Instead, it's one of that's my savior. That we're responsible for. That's us. That's all of us. We're responsible for that. Because you had, if you want to use the text, you had a king, matter of fact, two kings in the same bloodline, Hezekiah and Josiah, who had the testicular fortitude to tear down false images and utterly destroy everything and create reform. What you don't have enough of is Black leaders with the testicular fortitude to utterly tear down and destroy false images. And why does it matter? That's the biggest thing I hear. You know, anytime I see an image of a white Jesus, a Jim Caviezel or Ewan McGregor or whoever played white Jesus, that's Cesare Borgia, whatever you see, anytime I see that image, I don't see any outrage from Black believers, ever. As soon as I put up an image from the Roman catacombs, from ancient Russian iconography, as soon as I put something up like that and say this is closer to the times and more accurate to the location, Black people, why does it matter? You never had that same energy with the white image. Why does it matter? He loved us all. God is not a race. God is not a color. You see what I'm saying? So that right there, there is a psychological hang up and when it comes to this image. And because of that, and I know Pastor Tim can relate to this because we're graphic designers, we understand the importance of imagery as it pertains to the psyche.
Yes, sir.
One dude understood that almost better than anyone in modern history, and his name was Joseph Goebbels, and he was the propaganda minister of Nazi Germany. He knew how to use imagery. We do not know how to use imagery. We use someone else's imagery, and what that puts on our children and on ourselves is the stigma that this is the epitome of holiness. This white man with long hair and a straight beard, this is the epitome of holiness. And when I look at myself in the mirror, or I look at my father, or I look at the dude on the corner, or the man down the street in my community, and he does not look like that, well, then that's just another nigga. That's not what he said, God. But me and Brother Taman was bringing out a scripture in Psalms that say, have I not said ye are gods before me? So I mean, like this is the hang up with it. So why is white Jesus in the church? Because we want him there. And I say we because we need to hold each other accountable and identify as one. It's all our faults. We want him there. We don't want to get rid of him. Because if we did, he would have been gone. Somebody killed George Floyd, we took down Robert E. Lee. White Jesus still chilling.
Can't touch him. Can't touch him, America. Yo, I love this, man. I love it. I love it. I love the dialogue. Tim, you had something on that, man?
Yeah.
Oh, no, hold on, Pastor Tim. Come on.
Okay.
No, I mean it's it's a lot of nuances getting unpacked here, as they would say. I mean, for the most part, I don't see where there's any. I don't have any quarrels with anything that was said, to be quite honest.
Right.
I mean, when I'll just say, growing up in the church, I always wondered a lot of things, right? And kind of like what Mike said, you were given that, and that's what you took. And then once you got older, you started to question some things and started to look into some things yourself. And the more that I looked at it, I wanted to look at it in a historical view, because when I went off to college and trying to talk to different people about what I believe in, and trying to make them see what I believe in. It got to the point to where I was pushing what I believe onto them, right? And they were giving me something that I'm questioning myself and testing myself on. And I'm like, okay, but this is what I believe though. This is what I grew up knowing. And it took me some years because it was a shock value more so. And it took me some years to really say, you know what, man, let me look deep into this. And the more I got into it, the more I understood that there is a history factor behind this. But at the same time, what is being pushed? And what is really the history behind the history? As Mike said, what is it behind this history? Like if we talking like the first person that they said that they found was in Africa. So if you want to be real, then what were they worshiping? And those questions start coming on, and then once you start to see, well, maybe not even start to see, but if you look deeper into certain things, you can get the truth in a sense. No pun intended, truth, but you start to see what it is, and I'll end it on that.
Pastor Tim, you had something else to add to that?
No, what Eric said was really dope and profound. I was just going to add that 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 the Black church, they were focused more. Some of them. I'm not going to say all of them because I hate grouping people because I hate being grouped. But some Black churches were more focused on the charismatic aspect of the experience, not the knowledge that came behind it. So they preached charismatic sermons that got people excited, but when it came to white Jesus, they didn't touch it, or it was out of sight, out of mind. And I'm only talking from my context because what I've been doing on the back end is helping smaller churches kind of help reform and kind of strengthen their base for the millennials. So what I see is really like out of sight, out of mind. If I don't see the image, we're not really talking about the image. A lot of them were not exposed, so they didn't go to seminary. They didn't have any biblical nuances outside of reading it from their perspective. No matter how unhealthy they were or unhealed they were. So again, like I said, the upcoming generation right now, yes, we could have broke down the image of white Jesus, but white Jesus is not as important as Black Lives Matter. You know what I mean? So we kind of pick and choose as a Black community what we want to go after, and then it's hard for us to tear down white Jesus when we killing each other in our own streets. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they killing us, but we killing each other too. So I feel like the community is always torn. It's either feed the poor, or let's make it and survive, or hey, white Jesus, let's get these food stamps. Let's figure out how we can, come up, not necessarily deal with our belief system. And I feel like that's part of the problem. So what Eric said is so true, but most Black churches, they just trying to, like I said, don't have the resources. Those that do are so large that they're focused on the bottom line, even though they do try to help their community to the best of their ability. And then most white churches, they're not consumed with it either, because at the end of the day, they're going to keep the majority. Some of them that don't have the right motive, I hate group people. They're going to try to make sure they cater to the majority, not the minority. So even though Jesus talks about all through Scripture, the Bible talks about all through Scripture, marginalization and equality. So, but yeah, big ups, Eric, dropping truth.
So I was one of those ones that Eric talked about when we were saying like, well, why does it matter? Like, what does it matter, right? Like, what does color matter? We're all spirit beings, right? We're all created in God's image. We're all spirit beings. When you dig deeper into the word, right? Every piece of that word means something, whether it's, a dot here, or a semicolon there, or a capital right there, So everything means something. So every word in that Bible, when you start to study it, it means something. So to me, he chose a specific people. He chose specific people, a specific type of people for a reason. So, and I think it was something Eric was talking about when we started talking about we talk about the regions, you know what I mean, and where he was hidden, and where he told him to go into Egypt, and he told him to go here, right, and to hide there. And then when you start to think about it, and we say, well, if Jesus was this color, if he was white, and he had to go into hiding, when you go into hiding in an aphrodisiac or whatever Eric will call it, he correct me later on. he correct me when he get on here. But when you go into that African place, right? If I was sent there to hide, but I don't look like them, then that kind of defeats the purpose. So it made me start thinking a little bit more like this means something. Like this color means something, and it means something to God. So it does mean something to. So if it means something to God, it means something to me. So I'm getting to the point where I'm at the point where I don't allow my kids, if a show comes on and Jesus is white, we don't watch it. You know what I mean? So it does start with us to a point where we got to start teaching our kids at an early age what we believe in, what it really is. So when we talk about tearing down white Jesus or tearing down idols, one, it first has to start with us. It has to start with us and our household. Like I was talking to God the other day, he said, man, you can't change the world unless you're willing to change your world. Yeah, I mean, you can't go out there and want to tear down this white Jesus throughout the whole world, but you won't turn off white Jesus in your own house. You won't teach black Jesus in your own house. So for me, it has to start with us. It has to start with us as black men, and teaching our kids that this is what it means. And it has to start by teaching them that this is what the Bible, and doing a little bit deeper dive into what the Bible is actually saying.
Now let's not just get stuck on just the Bible, because I mean there's
Absolutely.
hundreds of religious texts. There's the Talmud, you have the Mishnah, you have and they got different Talmuds. What else? And that's in Judaism. In Islam, you got the Quran or the Quran.
Muhammad been whitewashed too. But
Oh.
Muhammad was whitewashed too. They got the same, might as well be the same face. And he got them little arched eyebrows and stuff.
Yo, you wow.
They don't have no eyebrows over there in the Near East. They got big eyebrows. Let me stop.
But it's no, but it's I mean, one thing that I've done just even with that is look into the different of religions, because in a sense, what is it about me growing up as a Christian? What is it about Christianity to where everybody has to be converted Christian? Because if we're looking at the numbers, then it's like 3 billion people is going to go to hell, and the rest are going to heaven if we believe in that. So what is it that Muslims, what is it that they believe, and where are they going? Where is it that these guys praying to this Wailing Wall and doing this little motion that's a little weird? What is it that they're doing that's getting them to their God? And I think that one thing that sticks with me is what Dom said, as far as the God of Christianity, in a sense, or who you would say is God. And that's a whole nother paradigm in itself. Is where did he go? Where was he hid at? In Egypt. He was there for a significant amount of time. What was it that he was doing in Egypt? For one, okay, we can get to the hiding part, but he came out of Egypt and he learned some things or two. He had to. So what was it that he was learning? So yeah, I'll leave it at that. Anybody want to chime in?
Hold on, E. I'm because I think me and you had an interesting conversation. That a conversation that I felt that was interesting. So I want to get you a little bit later, but I did want to talk to Mike and get his point of view on it.
I say that again. I didn't hear you.
So Taman, repeat the question, Taman.
I didn't have a question. I just stated some things and just wanted somebody to chime in.
Oh yeah. Oh. So you were saying like with Christianity, right? We all talk about like going to heaven or hell, right? And that is the end all be all, right? When we start talking about all the other religions, like how do they get to their God? I mean, how do I mean Muslims? Because they call it paradise, but if you are a Christian and you don't profess Christ, then we believe that those Muslims are going to hell, right? So, what is your view on that? Where there's one side that says if you don't profess Christ, that he's the way and the only way, but
No,
then you
just
have
not
other
one side. It's a whole lot of sides. It's a
there. So
whole
there,
lot of denominations with a lot of different isms and schisms to get to where you're trying to get to. Like how do we as black men know really what is the right way? Because I mean, if you grew up in we're okay, so I guess we're basically on Christianity because we mainly grew up as Christians in a sense. But you have Muslims that grew up in Islam that pray to Allah, like like Eric said, 5 times a day. Why is it that I can't adopt that in my Christian faith? Or why is it that Judaism or what they do as far as uh, not eating swine? Why is it that I can't adopt that into my like? It gets to the point to where it's where is all this religion based out of?
I think it, like we've been talking about from the origin of it, it has to do with your coach. I'm speaking a lot as a Black American. I think Pastor Tim made a great point. Globally, everything looked at different. When you went to see Malcolm X, I still think it's so disrespectful we still call him Malcolm X. But Haj Malik Shabazz, who he died as, you know what I mean? That we want him to be Malcolm so bad, but he changed his global point of view. When he went there, he was praying with white men with blue eyes when he took his Hajj, and he didn't feel no sort of way about them. However, when he came back to the States after his Hajj, he still said the same thing about white Americans. He did not change about the devil. He not changed near. And if you listen to King in his death, I have a dream King. Nah, King was down for segregation. He was done with them. By his death, he was done. He was sounding way more like Malcolm than he was like the Martin that we keep painting him as. All right, so our religion, man, this is all dated. We cannot apply any of these books. If you want to be, you can apply them to what we said. You can apply them to a situation. You can use these all as guidelines. You can use all these holy books, but you cannot apply 3 wise men or people walking with bare feet to somebody having an internet. Like, so you have to transcend what these means, and these ain't nothing but parables. Let's not even identify Jesus. Let's not identify Muhammad. As a 5%, I grew up like, we got Muslim lessons. We're cultural, but we have our own mathematics and alphabets, and that's what makes us. If you want to study, if you don't know, the 5% culture, the Nation of Gods and Earths came from a brother by the name of Clarence 13X. He was actually in the same mosque with Malcolm X, and he read these lessons that was Elijah Muhammad gave to the Black Muslims or the Muslims in America that he got from Wali Farad Muhammad, who they claim is a half original man, meaning his mother was white. He came through. So the Black Muslims are based on a prophet that is half white. Farrakhan, Elijah Muslim's prophet is a half white man. That to me was confusing. Also, what was confusing to Clarence 13X, who started the Nation of God's Earth, was the first degree of the Muslim lessons, because their lessons is nothing but a conversation between their prophet Farad and their messenger Muhammad. And the first question that Muhammad asked him was, who is the original man? And Muhammad said the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, God of the universe. And there was the lesson that Clarence 13X kept reading, like, it say I'm God right here, yo. Why we keep praying to like this guy, this image of this half white man? He didn't understand it. And they basically is like, well, you got those kind of thoughts, you gotta go form your own nation. You gotta go do your own thing. And he did. In the streets of New York City, where if you could do your research and see, and then was later murdered like any other mob. But big deal. What he did was gave African Americans, because this is very particular, the 5% culture, our Nation of Gods and Earth is very particular to the history books would say the former enslaved, the black man in America, why he needed to be in power, because everything was stolen from him. His name, his language, his land, all of this was stolen from him. We all sitting here with these white man names on our left-hand screen. Like all of us. That's ownership. We talking about how white Jesus is. How white are we? How white are we with these last names of slave masters? We're gonna change that before some image get in my head. Before some image get in my head, I know I'm named after all kind of characters that don't have no relevance to me. And you telling me they're not, like, I am a slave as long as I bear this last name of a slave master. However, if I change it, then I separate myself from my grandfather, who had this dream of education and becoming an African American. Like, that dream separates us in itself, because ain't no such damn place as African American. Japanese people from Japan, Asians from Asia, wherever you from, ain't no African American. Malcolm X said, if kittens are born in the oven, that don't make them muffins. We Africans in America. And if we can unite on that, if we can unite at that point, then we can be like, oh, we all black. We can Marcus Garvey it out. And we can put all this religion aside, all of this money, these classes aside for 1 second and talk, because we can play with this religion stuff, but only one of us can be right. Only one of us. If you one name, it's got to be only one God. If you believe, I mean, you can be polytheist, whatever, but where these stories come from and where humans come from, and if you want to be mathematically and scientifically trying to create something, we all built the same. We had to come from a thought. If you build a chair, you're going to think about the chair first, as a God would do. You thought about the planet, and you're going to form it.
It should be in the
but from a thought. That's, I mean, just for me rambling on, but it all comes from a thought. So what we think controls us, and what we think controls the universe, and what God thought created all this. However you see God, and whatever you think is going to create the next universe. So you can think Jesus is white, and that's going to be your universe. That's going to be your children, because that's your universe. That's how it's going to come out, and good luck with that. You know what I mean? But that's me. Y'all go on.
Nah, bro, that was good stuff, man. Dropping gems, man. Mike, you had something to add to that?
No, I agree with what Troop is saying. You know, like, I couldn't say it better myself. Like, I was just talking to Taman earlier, kind of on those same lines, and just to kind of touch what Taman said, as far as why can't you kind of blend the religions and take a little bit from here, or take a lesson from a 5%, or take a lesson from Islam, or a little bit of Judaism, and kind of come up with your own thing. It's because you kind of can't. It's taboo. I mean, especially from where I come from, it's, if I start talking anything of original man or anything like that, then the first thing I'm told is, boy, you going to hell. So it's are you crazy to think to go against or to question? That's how, you know, I was brought up in religion. So I mean,
hey, yeah. Pastor Tim, you had something?
No, I said, yeah, I kind of agree, but Truth hit like an awesome point. So the further we go back, right? So we say the inception of all life was Egypt, right? In Genesis, the Bible says Adam is a derivative of dark earth, right? So dark earth, dark skinned, right? Nature, right? But when the further you go back, people weren't, like I said, they weren't branded by their race, their color, or their ethnicity, their race, color, or their ethnicity. It was based on the region that they grew up, right? So what the paradigm that always gets me, hold on one second, my daughter's calling. What?
We're going to swings.
You can, but somebody has to take the swings down.
Okay.
All right. So I'm sorry about that. So my thing is, wherever we were born, predicated on what we were called, right? So we can all agree about that. So again, if I was Asian, I was raised in Asia or the Asia Providence. So we are in America. At the end of the day, whether it's the Quran, whatever sacred books, we can't. That's history. That predates some of the Egyptians were from Egypt. So when I'm thinking about this whole race thing and our belief systems, we're hung up on being African American because of the slavery aspect. If we came over here and we're rich, we wouldn't be having these. We wouldn't be having these conversations. We weren't having these conversations when we were in Africa, when we were kings, right? And they had people in different tribes that were living off the land. We weren't having cultural nuances. Oh, you from the northern part of Africa. We don't fool with you like that. Like it was this cross pollination, especially even with trade routes before this whole slavery thing kind of blew up. Well, you had indentured servants, but majority of it was cross pollination, right? So people were trading with one another. We weren't fussing with the agents who were painting their faces, doing plays about different cultures and environments, right? We weren't doing that. So yes, there is a degree. Yeah, we got to get back to the basics. We got to do more. We got to empower our generation. But at the end of the day, our generation, again, is a byproduct of some of the cultural pain. So we're not focused on that. So I think that's the thing. We got to deal with the pain first, but the pain is always going to keep hemorrhaging because, again, we're in America, and our younger generation, even though they never experienced slavery. There's people marching right now who never had somebody disrespect them for being Black, but they out there marching. You got people who have been disrespected for being Black, and then they're not marching at all. So you got this weird dichotomy about being African American, when at the end of the day, if I just go to history and we throw books out the way, I'm in America. So that's why I'm an African American, because my skin color that looks like something from Europe. Because at the end of the day, we all be just called Americans if we were born in America. So I feel like this cultural nuances about the region we were born in and where we came from, that cultural pain that got us over here, kind of always gets in the way and mess it and kind of throws a monkey wrench even in discussions. Because at the end of the day, just go back to history. Let's just throw everything out the way. Like Eric's about to drop some cultural nuances on us, but at the end of the day, if we brought Eric on right now, and we go back as far as you can, you go back to Kemetic Egypt. Why did they call them Egyptians? Because they grew up in Egypt. They didn't call some of the slaves. They brought the slaves from one place. They didn't stop calling the slaves what they were. If you were a Babylonian and you were in Egypt, you were a Babylonian in Egypt. So it's just one of those things where I feel like what True said is exactly true. We have to get back to the basics and realize that we're over here in America, and yes, we're Black, but is that the main premise? Because every holy book doesn't really lean on, unless you're a Moor or a slave Bible, which was altered, and they shouldn't have did that, but they did, and raised Black people. But at the end of the day, yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I just think we got to get back to the main thing. We were raised over here, so that's why they call us African Americans. I'm not really messed up on that because I know history, but most Black people don't. And because they don't, they get infuriated about something that at the end of the day is just being replicated. Yeah, I lost my train of thought once my daughter came, so don't mind me. I'm just.
It's all good. It's all good. You said a lot, man. It was very educational. Go ahead, E.
If I may, I kind of wanted to start back where Taman left off and travel from there, because I think we got away from his statement.
Got you.
Was you have a lot of these paths. You have Al-Quran, you have the Holy Bible, you have Torah or Tanakh, you have what is it, the Vedic from the gurus, what the Hindus follow. You have the words of Siddhartha. You have all of these things, but if you go into whether it be Orthodox Islam or you go into Christianity, this is the path, and everything else leads to hell. And he said, what if I acknowledge the Messiah, or what if I acknowledge Christ, but I want to pray 5 times a day on a prayer rug? So let me tell you, Taman knows this, but not everybody else knows this. On any given day, you might find me with tassels attached to my on the 4 corners of my garment, right? And I might decide to wash and make wudu and pray on a prayer mat 5 times a day facing the east. And I will open up the Torah and Tanakh and try to parse it the best I can, because I'm not there yet, in its original language in Ibrit, so I can get what's really being said, not what old King James and his homeboys translated it to say. And I abstain from pork. And when I'm not scheduled to work, I try to rest on a Saturday. So the first problem is The reason why you can't do that is because someone told you you can't do that. None of those books said you can't do that. The first issue is, if you're going to say that this book is my book, well, my friend, you need to learn how to read that book. Because if you can't have a set of instructions or claim to have a set of instructions that you do not know how to read. And your argument is, what are you talking about, E? I can open up the Bible, I can read it just fine. My issue is, if you read it, and this is important, there's no debate, if you read it in its original attested language, you would find that there are so many issues with the translation that we have been given. And once you read the Quran and the Quran in the original language, and once you read the Bible in classical Hebrew, Imperial Aramaic, and Koine Greek, you're going to understand a lot of the hangups and issues that cause you to have, well, I see this as good, and I see this as good, but I can't do this because this side said no. And you're going to see linguistically, no one said that. For starters, Muslims, there was a statement, Muslims pray to Allah, Christians pray to God. If you understand language, you understand that is not an accurate statement. Allah is a contraction, al-ilah, the God. The word God being in place of the name in the Bible is not even, it's not even connected to the original writers. They didn't worship anything called God. They worship something called Eloah, which is a cognate of Allah, right? And they gave him a proper name. The Hebrew specifically gave him a proper name, which meant it causes to exist in the Tetragrammaton, Yod, He, Wav, He. What you're gonna understand is those are what's called epithets. And an epithet, or a shem, as it says in Hebrew, is a name that describes characteristics. It doesn't even mean that that's his name. My mother, when she gave birth to me, she named me Eric Randall Gross. I go by an epithet, Ezekiel ben Jacob, which means that strength of El, son of Yakub, because that's my father's name. All right, that is my epithet. Or strengthened by El, however you want to say, that is an epithet to describe a characteristic. So once you get away, once you get into the root of a matter and you start studying linguistically, you're going to understand that those hangups are not there. When you study Yeshua ben Miriam, or Jesus Christ, whatever you try to call him, when you study his words, and then you go into Buddhism and you study the words of Buddha, you're going to find they're saying the same exact things. Why are they saying the same exact things? Because they were enlightened by the same source. They have different epithets for the same source, the creator of all the universe. Then when you go into African spirituality, the things that your ancestors were doing, you're going to find, dang, this is the same source, but their native tongue called it what their native tongue called it. And when you go and translate it, it's the person who created everything. Is that not the same thing as Yahweh? It causes to exist, that which causes to exist. If you're in Ghana, maybe you call it Ifa. If you're Nigerian and you're Igbo, maybe you call it Chiukwu Abiyama, merciful God. But somebody told you, you better be careful with practicing what your ancestors practiced, because that's demonic. But your ancestors were worshiping the source. And your ancestors understood the word chi in Igbo meant every living thing had a chi, a spirit. Because everything that you touch, that you give, has some sort of source of life. And then you can go into the science of it, like Brother Truth is saying, and realize, dang, everything is made out of moving molecules. If I lay a broomstick on the floor, it looks like it's staying still, but science has told me every molecule or particle that makes up that broom is in constant movement, because it has life and it's in constant motion. And if you were studying the spiritual systems of your ancestors, you would have already known that, but somebody told you that was wrong. But then you can look into the book, into the Old Testament, and see he put down a staff The leaders put down a staff, and Aaron's staff began to bud almond blossoms. Why? Because it had life, and the source of all life that causes to exist allowed that thing to give life. So to go back what Tamon said, why can't I pray 5 times a day, abstain from pork, and see the Messiah and his teachings as my path to the source? Because someone told you you can't and you believe them, instead of reading and learning for yourself. That's why. They don't have a heaven and hell to put you in. And matter of fact, I think we focus too much on heaven or in hell. And that's why we don't have nothing here today, because certain leaders told you the focus of everything is heaven in some abstract place that you can't see or touch, that you get to after you die. So have hell on earth, black man, instead of telling you that you have the power of God within you to create your reality. What do you think Yeshua was talking about when he said you can speak a thing and it be done? I can speak to my child and say you're mighty and you can do anything and he can become that. And you can't let no man put his boot on your neck because you stand up straight, young black man. The only reason why we have these hangups is because somebody who did not know what they were talking about told us something and we stopped right there and believed them.
Real good.
Definitely.
He said a mouthful, man. He said a lot of things that make you think, which is what the show was. What we created to do. We wanted to bring all y'all on here to make people think, as opposed to just believing what somebody else told you, right? Somebody told you this, and that's what we ran with. Why? Because we don't want to do the work ourselves. We would rather somebody else do the work and then copy off their work. But what if they got all the answers wrong? What if they had all the answers wrong? Right? We would rather just copy off somebody else because it's easier to just copy off somebody else than to go back and do it ourselves. The question I asked, based off of what Eric is saying, the question I'm gonna ask is, why is there so much turmoil or conflict amongst all the religions if we're all talking about the same thing? If we're all trying, go ahead, Tamon.
No. Continue on the question. I thought that was the question. My fault.
Yeah, no, that's the question. Like, why is it so much turmoil, conflict, and beef amongst so many religions when we're all talking about the same thing? I was talking to my friend the other day, and I said this. I said, who was Ishmael's father? Who was Isaac's father? Did they not have the same dad? Did they not grow up? I know, I mean, because I got a daughter out of wedlock, right? So I know she's not going to get all the same teachings that my 2 kids get, but when she's with me, she's going to get some of the teachings that my kids get. So what I was saying is that the where most people say where Christianity comes from, it stems from Isaac, and where Islam stems from Ishmael, right? So if they did not have this, I'm just saying that's what people gonna say, right? That's what people believe. Right. So if they had the same dad, to me, they had to interact with one another. So why is there so much beef and turmoil with all these different religions when we all talking about the same stuff?
You said it right there. I mean, if that was the case, am I echoing somewhere?
No, you good.
If that was the case, 2 brothers growing up in the same household and going 2 different paths. Just using an example. I don't even know much about the context of the 2. I think know what you're speaking of, but not in detail. So if these 2 brothers grew up in the same father, same household, same dinners, same room, same beds they slept on, but they got different perspectives. And that's where the turmoil come in. If you listen to this right now, 6 black men, we're talking about religion. Mm-hmm. We all had a black man's perspective of religion. There is some black women watching this shit right now, like, fuck all y'all, excuse my language. Like, fuck all y'all, God is a woman. And that's her perspective. And none of us even like, whoa, where'd that come from? But women gave birth to everything. So why would she give birth to the earth or the original? Look at her argument. So what we really here doing is everybody arguing. My man Eric is well versed in study. I can tell by what he's saying. He studied the hell out some history. He don't even say he ain't got no college degree, and we don't. And that trash everybody's college degree.
because the language of the tongue. So certain things don't matter. It's perspective. This brother wanted to study that. So it's really how much you give a damn, and then to find out. I was gonna make a podcast. Everybody say I used to make a podcast because I'm a communication man. But the name of my podcast was actually gonna be titled "F Your Opinion," like because and that includes mine. When I give opinions or when I speak, I don't ever want to be like, this is my truth. I'm God of our truth. Like, you ain't finna tell me, you ain't gonna change my mind. You're not gonna do it. You're gonna share with me, and I'm be like, yo, you right. That's G. And every fact that I'm gonna prove all facts that you say out your mouth. But as far as my perspective, if you think that you're gonna somehow make me die and not believe that the black man is God, I'm sorry. We wasting time here. You gotta show and prove different to me because I see God as supreme being. That's the definition. I won't even play with words. That's supreme, most high. Stick to words. Is the direct definition of God. Supreme means most high, and being means something in existence, having life. If you can tell me something on this planet, on this globe that I've ever been introduced to, that is more high than the black man, and you can talk about white man with the foot on your neck or black man being oppressed, but I'm talking about nature. I'm talking about God by nature. I'm not talking about what you was made as an African American or an ex-slave or Muslim or a Christian or this by nature. Who you supposed to be? You supposed to be Christ-like. And who is Christ? Christ is God in the sense that we speaking on. Our laws, God. Whatever you supposed to be, whatever religion you follow, those documents tell you to be like God. Those documents tell you to be the supreme being in the physical. Now, we can talk about beings on a higher level, and that might not be you. That's our law. That's us. That's all of us. That's us. I'm God of my universe, and I have my seeds. Ain't nobody here gonna raise my babies or make my baby. That's my universe, and that came from my loins. That's like my flesh. I mean, I created, just like God created the universe. I created life, and I ain't giving myself overly credit because I ain't created my own life. That came through a woman. If you want to get even deeper, and it goes all the way back. So at some point, it was a thought. Man, and all this high science in our body, the way our hearts beat, the way our brains move. This is high science, these 7.5 ounces in our head. And we only using like 10% or something. This is genius level. Who thought of man? Look at the trees. The trees just grow and be obedient. Look at the sun. Come out every day it's supposed to. Every creature of God does exactly what it's supposed to, except for man. Of course, and then again, that's only according to man. Because man defines what man is supposed to be doing, because man is writing all this fake ass doctrine that God said. It was written by a man's hand and a man's interpretation, and usually came to a man in the dream, because all these prophets are having dreams. So what do you dream of? Like, what is your dream, black man? Like, what are you creating? What's the next testament? Because we part of it. We are the characters in the holy book. No matter what. You a Jacob or man, you somebody. Obviously, we writing out the times, they say every 25,000 years, they write the new Quran is written. So we're part of it. And what's your role in it? Are you an archangel? Are you a demon? Are you God? Are you the Messiah? What are you? Who you here to save? What are you here to create? We got to look within. All the holy books are great. Studying is great. You know, some of us got to study religions, but some of us got to study engineering. Some of us got to study. So whatever you want to put your time in, that's cool. Whatever you want to believe in, but believe most of this religion is all opinion. Is we all got it from somebody, including myself. And it's how we just deciphering it and what's our perspective, like the two brothers. What's our perspective on it? Because I'm trying to tell you, there's a black woman watching us right now. Like, why? They're one of them. I don't think none of us mentioned a woman character from the Bible. We ain't talking about being birthed to a woman, no woman thought. And it's like, this is our black men bullshit perspective. Like a white man. If I was a white man, I wrote history, you goddamn right Jesus gonna be white. You goddamn right everybody on a dollar bill gonna be a white hero to me. Yeah. Malcolm X gonna be. So this is all perspective. So we gotta get this shit right and not even look step outside of ourselves too. You know what I'm saying? So this is all just what I see, but I see when I talk about being God, I'm talking about all of us. I'm talking about all of us. And that's your perspective. I'm talking, if I was a white man, I'd be right here talking about the white man God, bro. The white man, you know what I'm saying? So I ain't mad at nobody, but keep that shit over there. When you start talking about stuff that ain't in my cipher that's gonna harm my family, that's when we war. So I had a thing, like Brother Tim said, Timon said when he was young, he was real passionate about his religion. And I had brothers, we might be Giants fans. I used to like the Giants coming up before we strike football and all that. So if I knew Timon was hardcore Christianity and I was on my 5% square and he wanted to come around talking religion, nah, let's talk about the Giants. Because we black men and we don't need to argue. I ain't finna change your mind, black man. And I appreciate your Jesus more than you know. If that works for you. But let's talk about the Giants because we agree on that. Let's march together when we agree. I don't have time to argue with you about semantics and this or that because it ain't doing shit for us. It's been thousands of years and we ain't even smart enough. I'm going to leave with this. I got a line. I mean, I'm not going to leave it. I'm going to end with this for my speak. I got a line. I'm a rhymer. I'm a rapper. I got 3 albums out. My group is Godzilla. We got out with Erykah Badu, but we everywhere. But I got a line on one of the albums that say, all I know is that I know nothing. It's all God. I was sent to tell the truth like Wally Farad. I don't know nothing. Like, I'm just sitting here and God speaking through me, or if I'm possessed the wrong way, demons are speaking through me, which I'm not here to allow. You know what I mean? But go ahead, E, before you step out, can you say something, bro?
No, I got to go before him because listen, he got them educational bars for me, man. But I mean to piggyback off of what Truth was saying is it's funny because I put that as a Facebook status like a couple of days ago, and what really just leaning in and learning and kind of answered Dom's question. All the religions, the reason why you can't necessarily pick from is because they don't want to actually speak of its originality, which is from the concept of African spirituality. If you really want to take it all back, everything as far as the mythical stories that they have in the Bible is all taken and borrowed from Egyptian mythology. I mean, when we're talking about Jesus, which Jesus are we talking about? I mean, because it's a few Jesuses, but what are we talking about? Like Eric said, are we talking about Yeshua? Like the guy who spoke Arabic, who would probably greet somebody saying Assalamu alaikum or Shalom alaikum. Like and it goes back to what Tim was saying as far as we as a people need to learn who we are. We can't go forward if the image that's put in front of us is that the counterpart European is greater than us, when historically facts show that we were here before them, that we have created all of the concepts that they have borrowed. And that's not going to be helpful to mainstream. That's not going to be helpful to anybody's bottom dollar to actually really say, hey, we borrowed all this from Egypt. Like that's not going to work in America. Like if you look at the nation's capital and all of its monuments, it was built, the Potomac River was almost like a symbol of the Nile River. With all the monuments and everything lined up and whatnot, that wasn't just on accident, that was on purpose. They wanted to be Egypt. When I say they, you pretty much know who I'm talking about. And when there's actual truth that comes out and shows that, then that's when we can have a healthy dialogue and say, okay, so all of this time, all of these people that have been going through that don't look like us, that are going through these religions are actually worshiping us. That's a hard pill to swallow. That's a hard pill for anybody to swallow. And that would test somebody's religion. That would test somebody's belief system. That would test even a person that looks like us, our belief system. Like you said, in the Christian community, it's always, why do we got to focus on the color? We do. Because at the end of the day, there's a reason why he was painted that way. There's a reason behind a lot of the things. What's the reason behind that? Like, I'll just end on that. Yeah, I'll end on that. Go ahead, Dom.
Oh, I was going to see if Pastor Tim, if you had anything more to add to that.
Oh shoot, man! Look, I'm trying to do my tablet and my phone down. Phone overheat and all this. I'm trying to work. Man, like I say, Truth says so much. Eric says so much. Simone says so much. I mean, like I said, I think the further we get back, like I said, we're getting back to the nature of God. So if everything started from Him, and then there's all these paths, you gotta get back to the nature of God. So God created everything. That we just simplistic. God created everything. Every person on the face of this earth, whether they came through the womb of woman, God had his fingerprint on it, right? So you have all these different colors, different hues, these different personalities, these different mannerisms. Truth said something, so like he was so strategic and intelligent that he already kind of forecast the landscape before it ever happened, knew what time period, what place to put us in, knew what we would gravitate to, what we wouldn't gravitate to. So the nature of God is outside of we focus on color. He's thinking about purpose. Like, are you, when I put you in the earth, are you going to fulfill this purpose? Purpose, by definition, is the reason for the creation or the existence of a thing, right? So outside of religion, what are we doing what we were created for? And I think that's where we lean, but we don't lean on that because, again, our belief systems, practices, pain, all that, because at the end of the day, somebody wrong. So when you get back to religion, so even though there's all these different paths, he created these paths as options, or he allows these paths because of options, right? So you don't know how much you love something unless you have options. So all of us have options and choices, or free choice. I don't like calling it free will, free choice. All of us have free choice, and the choice that we make will determine the course and the quality of our lives, right? So right now we're making a decision, okay, as Black men. So yeah, I am Black, absolutely, all that, all day. But I have to make a decision. Does my Blackness get in the way of my purpose? Because at the end of the day, I know some brothers, I was raised to see, I was raised to see, there's some brothers who got more girls than me. I was a nerd. I made a decision, y'all. Go to school to do something different.
Don't do that, Tim.
And my
You
life's
hoop
in a
too.
better place.
You can hoop
Oh
too.
no, but
Don't
I
do
was a
that,
nerd
Tim.
though. I ain't get no chicks. I ain't get no chicks. Look, let me speak facts. I ain't get no I was Steve Urkel out this piece, even though I hooped. But the thing was, and Jeremy was the killer though. Jeremy was the killer. He had an extra 2 or 4 feet, 2 feet on me, man. But the thing was, I had to make a decision as an individual to pursue knowledge, to find out who I am outside of what I was trying to be, a jock, popular, fit in the crowd. And I had to own who I was. So that journey took me on this path, right? Just like it took Truth on his path, Eric on his path, Dom on his path, Mike on his path. So at the end of the day, I'm more so thinking about all this. As far as you go back, Egyptians, yes, just the Black man or a dark-skinned man, because before Africa was founded, since every, you know what I mean, before Africa was founded, it was just earth. So it was a dark-skinned man that started everything. Cool, we can all agree on that. Now, what was his purpose? If we look at the Bible, it says to be fruitful, multiply, and subdue, right? And God said, okay, it's not good for man to be alone, so he brought a sister, right? So you have 2 individuals who have the responsibility of blazing the path. Then depending on what theological circles, you got pre-Adamic earth. So there were people before Adam got here, or there were people when Adam arrived, then God released everybody else. So depending on wherever you are, your thought process, or your, it goes back to, are we fulfilling our purpose, man? And I think it's really going to be hard to do, because again, there's so much to pick from. It's like the buffet. They shut Golden Corral down. I used to like that, but at the end of the day, Golden Corral taught me that you can specialize. You can be great at a lot of things and not be. No, you can be good at a lot of things, but not great at one thing. And I think that's where we are. Like we said, we want to be great at a whole lot of things, but not specialized. Because, like Truth said, somebody got to be an architect. Somebody got to be an engineer. And those who devote themselves to faith, they should be specialists. So again, I'm still trying to take classes right now to get better, not to bash somebody in the head with Jesus, but so I can be cognitively aware. Okay, my purpose in the earth is to help people become better, not judgmental, not be more biased, methodical, condescending towards others, because that's not what any of the deities portray. So yeah, I'm just kind of like with that. At the end of the day, let's get to God. So if we get to God, what was God's original intention? For us to do something productive. Are we doing something productive? So then that kills the whole race card. I'll go back to what Truth said. Let's get race out the way. Let's get all that stuff, because the closer we get to God as Black men, or our theology about God, then what's important to him?
It's not race. It's about what are we doing what we're called to do. I don't know. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe not.
Now, it make perfect sense. Yeah, I don't know if you had anything, if you wanted to jump on and say something before I go on to something else.
You said me?
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to chime in before I go into something else.
I might have to dip out just because the mobile won't let me join the meeting for some reason.
Okay.
I needed to switch to mobile, but I want to say this because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the point of this, talking about Black man and religion was to discuss the benefits, the hangups, are there benefits, and what can be used. So I'm gonna give my perspective based on my, book of, they say, choice, the spiritual books that I follow, and then I'm gonna dip out, and then y'all can speak on that, and then I'll catch it later.
Gotcha.
So I've already said, like, my books, I've expressed this, my books of choice, and I'm not as well versed on Quran as I would like to be. I'm gonna get there. My first goal is to learn this biblical Hebrew and Aramaic. Then I'll jump to Quran. But my books that I think are beneficial to our people, mainly because most of our people hold these books near and dear to their hearts. So you're not going to get them to stop with these books. You're not going to stop a Black Muslim from holding near and dear to his heart the Quran. You're not going to stop a Black Christian, a Black Jew, or a Hebrew Israelite from using the Bible. And so my thing is taking those books, using the framework, or using the guidelines as a framework to move us forward, to progress in our own communities. And while we're here in this diaspora, in this diasporic state, which is outside of the continent of Africa, okay? While we're here in another land that we were brought to, whether you believe, we've progressed so far and we got so much, there is a Black problem. If there wasn't a Black problem, we wouldn't be seeing in the news what we're seeing now, right? So for the longest time, what I have heard is that our people have been reading this Bible for X amount of years. What has it done for Black people? And what I would say for that is, besides mainly appeals to emotion or helping you with your relationship and having positive relationships, making you feel closer to God, when it comes to the nitty gritty, when it comes to the bottom line, when it comes to us economically being a power, right, globally, when it comes to us being self-sufficient as a people, when it comes to us being a group of people or an ethnic group or a nationality that's seen and respected at the global table, right? Some people who will sit down at the table, an international table of trade and commerce, and they look at us and say, that's another businessman who is just as prestigious as the Japanese man in his suit, or the European man in his suit, or the Native African in his suit, or the Indian man in his suit, or whatever you want to say, right? The reason why it hasn't worked is because it hasn't been given in the way it was intended to. What do I mean by that? I'm big on textual criticism and textual analysis when it comes to the Bible. Now, for some, that's taboo. You don't question the word, that's God's word, but we need to get back to being real. Let's be real about this. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is not my assumption. This is not me being woke. This is what it is. 200 to 300 years after Yeshua was gone, the Apostle Paul was gone, Apostle Peter, James, John, Matthew, any of those people that were writers or characters in that book were gone. Someone from a totally different civilization, a totally different culture decided what books to put together. And then it continued to develop until you got the 66 that you have today. It was not God who put those things together. It was a particular group of men in very particular councils that had decisions, and they had reasons behind what they chose to be authoritative and canon and was not canon. All right. So, but there are aspects in that book, specifically in the Old Testament, that can help the Black community. And it's the same in the Quran. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. The Bible, here's a problem linguistically and without the textual analysis aspect. You will take the whole Bible as one continuous chronological book. It is an anthology of literature that developed over thousands of years. Each piece was written at a different time by a different author that was going through a different thing, and he was targeting a specific audience. You need to understand what each of these authors were going through, why they were writing what they were writing, and who they were writing to, and what they intended for them to get out of it, right? If you do that, you will understand that in no way, shape, or form did your Messiah tell you to give up anything that was written in the Old Testament. In fact, he held it near and dear to his heart, and that's what he taught, that's what he studied, that's what he lived, that's what he breathed, that's what he died believing in, okay? Go back to it. When you go back to it, there are going to be things in there. God met Moses on a rock, and you could say Moses had a dream. He wrote it from his perspective, whatever. There was some form of enlightenment, and Moses wrote down a set of laws, statutes, commandments, charges, and judgments. Why? Why did he write it? So they could be religious, so they could be pious, so they could think they were better than everyone? No, because they were a nation that was no nation. They were a group of mixed multitude about to take over a piece of land, and they needed some structure. They needed a government. They needed their own culture. They needed their own name. They needed their own spiritual system. They needed to make a distinction between themselves and the other people in the area. And they were warned against trying to assimilate, culturally assimilate to everyone around them. These are keys, people. These are keys for Black people. Stop trying to culturally assimilate to everyone else. Learn who you are. Learn what worked for your ancestors. Learn what didn't work for your ancestors. Why didn't it work? And change that. But everything else that worked, that made them be a flourishing civilization for thousands of years before they were interrupted by conquest, you need to focus on. This book says, do not let any outside influence come in. Matter of fact, if somebody goes to another town and brings back some other cultural stuff, kill him dead. I'm not telling you to kill someone. I'm telling you how important these cultural customs were to them. All right. They had aspects of commerce and economy, how to deal with one another. You may lend to strangers and charge interest, but when you lend to your brother, you are to not charge interest. That's in the Old Testament. Somebody told you the Old Testament was done away with. That's why the Bible's not working for our community. Because if we were all lending, if all of us were lending to each other when we needed help and not charging commerce, but charging someone outside of our community, the money would circulate in our community much longer than it does. The money circulates in the Black community a matter of hours. The money circulates in another person's community for days before it leaves the community. Why? Why is the Bible not working? Because you're not using it for what it said, because somebody told you to give up on the parts that actually work for you. Okay, what else? Our health. The Black man, the biggest killer of the Black man is not the police, it's not the KKK, it's not another Black man, it's diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension. How do we solve that? Well, the Bible gave you a dietary commandment. Stay away from that pork. Man, but we love the bacon. What does pork have in it? It has parasites. Why are we like this? Because we think we can eat McDonald's, fried bacon, pork back, chitlins, even though science has told us it causes cancer, and we pray over it in the name of Jesus, and it's blessed because we said Jesus' name. How are you going to eat poison, ask God to bless it, and then ask for spiritual healing in the name of Jesus after you took bad stewardship over your body? We're dying from diseases. That's weakening our community. We're losing our old folks too young, so we can't get what we need from our old folks because we're set in our ways. But the Bible's not working for us, but it told you to stay away from certain things. The first commandment to Adam and Eve, Take dominion over the earth, be fruitful and multiply. Taking dominion means that you are responsible for the environment that I placed you in. You look at your oceans. Why are they ugly? Why are they dirty? Why do you get in and get flesh-eating bacteria? Because you're eating all the crawfish, all the crabs, all the shrimp. The Bible told you not to eat that. Why did it tell you not to eat that? Because I told you to be responsible of the earth. You're killing your ecosystem. You're eating things that are put there for a specific purpose for your environment. That's environmental. What else does it say? It says, rest on the Sabbath day. Take the seventh day that God made holy and take a full rest day. Why am I tired? Why am I going crazy? Why am I stressed out? Why do I want to pop everybody in the mouth on my job? Because you're not resting, black man. You're not taking care of yourself, black man. Your diet is crap, black man. You can't even think right. Dr. Sebi said insanity and blindness starts in the gut. Dang, what did Dr. Sebi say? Where he learned that from? The Bible. And Dr. Sebi cured AIDS, diabetes, cancer, all the things that people have told us are uncurable. How can we make religion work for us? Well, you could go back to the original and what it says, learn who you are, what your ancestors were doing that worked for you, and you can make it work. Economically, what did they have? They had chiefs. They went to the elders. They set men in place. They set women in place. Yes, women. The Bible is not misogynistic. Someone else told you it's misogynistic. The spiritual system and the customs of the Bible puts the woman as the backbone of the household. How do I know the woman is the backbone of the household? Because how do you get up the nerve in a society that craps on women to tell a man, send your baby and your baby mama out of the house at once? How could she say that to a man like Abraham if she didn't have power? How could Sarah say that? How is there a Deborah who could tell you, fine, I'll go into battle with you, but if I go into battle with you, the glory goes to a woman, and then they dedicate a whole chapter to a woman who drove a tent peg through a man's head? What else is the problem with teaching the Bible? Again, you're taking it out of context, you're taking it out of its language, you're regurgitating it in a way of tradition that was given to you by your oppressors. They tell you, the Bible says, turn the other cheek. Yeshua said, give them the other cheek. It's about defiance. You want to hit me? Hit me. It does not say that you're supposed to just kumbaya with your oppressors. If it did, Nat Turner wouldn't have read the Bible and been inspired to slaughter his oppressors. The difference is he read it within its context. You read and regurgitated the proofreading of the people that have passed down something from their oppressors. The issue with not, and we're just speaking about the Bible because I'm sure it works for the Quran too. It works for Buddhism. I've read these things. It works. Why has it not worked? Because we're using a regurgitated, out of context, proofread thing that has been taught to you to make you docile and weak, to keep cheeks in the seats. The whole point of the text, they took out 1st and 2nd Maccabees. Why? Because in 1st and 2nd Maccabees, the Yehudim were being oppressed by the Roman Empire, who were trying to push, you're not to be a Jew. Everyone is Greek. We're all the same. Why you got to be African American? Why you got to be African? We're just American. Why do you see color? We're just one culture, Christ culture. But the parts they took out of the Bible, there was a man who got fed up with this. They made them take away their culture. They were slaughtering men, women, and children, slaughtering pigs on the altar, making people want to uncircumcise themselves, making, if a woman circumcised her baby, they made them lynch their baby around their own necks. So one man rose up and fought oppression, and God smiled on that man. They're not going to teach you that. They're not going to put that in your Bible. Why? Because it's going to inspire you to think like a revolutionary. What else does it say? It says in the text how to create an environment that takes care of the poor and the immigrants in your land. What are you supposed to do for the poor? You take 10% of everything you make. Every 3 years, you put it in a storehouse. So then your poor people, your orphans, your immigrants, they have food to eat. I mean, it's there in black and white. There's a structure that was perverted to push tithes and offering. I'm not going to go into that. But what I'm saying is there's a framework to create an egalitarian society Egalitarian just means there is no classes. There's no classes. You'll have your poor because you're always going to have your poor, but we've made provision for that. It teaches you how to farm your land. Every 7 years, give your soil time to rest. It teaches you that you should farm. We are dependent on a system that if tomorrow Russia sends an EMP to this country and everything goes out, most of us will starve to death. But the Bible tells you a man that don't farm or a man that don't hunt for his food, he doesn't deserve to eat. So we're not teaching our kids how to farm. We're not teaching our kids how to build. We're teaching our kids to be passive, because Jesus was this peaceful character that didn't have, man, I saw Jesus in the temple one time in his gospel. And that one time he was in the temple, he was acting a fool. He was turning over tables. Come on, man. Somebody gave you the wrong version. Somebody watered it down and whitewashed it for you. That's why it don't work. Take your stuff back. It's yours. Take it back, period. And I'm gonna end on that. I already said a lot. I'm gonna let y'all talk, but I love y'all. Peace, power, prosperity. Take dominion and inherit the earth, brothers.
Yeah. I don't mean to cut you. Yo, thank you, first of all. Yo, you just dropped a rack of balls, a rack of truths. It was felt. Pastor Tim Palmer, it was such a pleasure, bro. I really appreciate your spirit and energy. Mike, my man, Morgan State. Yo, dope, man. Everything y'all added on to. Dom, Simone, thanks for having me. I'm sorry I got a jet. I know this one of them trains been going until midnight. I don't care about the views and live and none of that. It was just great building with black men and having perspective, man. Anytime y'all need me, reach out, man. I'm sorry, I'm off my daddy daycare, single dad move. So let me go. They've been saying daddy like 100 times. I wasn't all the time.
It's understandable, big man. Love y'all, man.
All right, no doubt. Love y'all, man. Peace.
Dr. Eric, man, and my man, Dr. Hall, man. We thank y'all, man. Appreciate y'all, man.
Hey, man. Let's just get Mike, because he ain't said nothing in a while.
Yes, my man eating off the knowledge.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's just so much being dropped right now. It's crazy. And you know what I mean? Like, man, I'm sitting here wishing I can go back and talk with my grandfather right now, or let him hear this, get his input, you know, because he was a real religious man. So
yeah,
man, I'm speechless kind of right now, man, because there's so much to take in, and I kind of want to go back and look at some things.
Definitely. That's why I love it, man. That's why we wanted to do the show. One of the questions that I had, and Tim was talking about off air, and Mike, you was, I think you was there. One of the things he asked was, how do you guys feel about being black in the times right now? And one of the things I added on to that was, what comes first, right? Does your belief system come first, or are you black first? Which one prioritizes? So I open that up to the field and ask you guys, what takes precedence? You know what I mean, with your belief system or your you being black, and how do you guys feel about the state of the culture right now?
I mean, at the end of the day, when I really broke everything down and really thought about everything, at the end of the day, I'm a black man. I mean, regardless of what religion I have, they didn't ask what religion that the guy Floyd had. They never asked what religion any of the guys had. So at the end of the day, when we're talking about religion, beliefs, spirituality, whatever the case may be, at the end of the day, I'm a black man. And all I'm trying to do is figure out who I am, because it was a lot that was lost in translation, and that's just me. So I mean, at the end of the day, I know that I was born a black man. I'm going to die a black man, and regardless of what's said in my eulogy, whether it's Christian, Muslim, Rastafarian, Judaism, whatever the case may be, I'm still going to be the father of three, the husband of Kim, and the son of Tracy and Timmy. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I'm a black man.
Gotcha. Understood.
I'm a beg to differ. Well, I'm not going to differ. I'm just going to say, for me, it's my beliefs, because my belief is what makes me. So yeah, I'm a black man, but I feel like if no matter what, I excuse me, I've been in a lot of different situations, from having the guns drawn on me from police to being chased by rednecks and almost, ran off the road, to the point where I had to turn off my lights and go down the lane with my car turned off. I'm not going to allow those actions to change me. Now, if you try to bring harm, that's a different ball game. And I know, as a black man, I have a certain I got a job to do, and that's for me to carry on in a way and being able to express myself, so that way the younger people and the younger generations behind me can come and they can be good people, because that's what we want. No matter what religion you are, what you believe in, the end goal is to be a good person. So I feel like I can't go outside of my beliefs and allow my race or religion or anything else to change who I am, my soul, my energy, my spirit. That's why I personally say I'm going to go with my beliefs, because I'm going to go and do what I believe is right.
Can I take that answer too? I'm gonna take that answer. We're gonna blend them both together and say that's me.
What, Bishop Tim? Bishop Palmer?
Oh, no, sir.
Now we speak things into existence here. We had a therapist and we kept calling her doctor. She said, "I'm not there yet, but y'all keep speaking on it." So
Oh, man, well, look, I'm glad y'all see it, man. I would say my logic. So it have to be belief, but I wouldn't say just religious. I mean, just in general. Because all our higher brain functions are in our cerebral cortex. So in order for us to understand our color and process it, it comes from that area of our brain. So I would say it would have to be my belief, because my belief, my thinking, my logic allows me to interpret my color. It allows me to interpret the things that I see, because we don't see with our eyes, we see from our brain. Mm-hmm. So I would just say from that, it would have to be my belief system. And then my belief system, based on its experiences, its perspective, in how it has accumulated the data and processed it, will determine how I process and I navigate my world. At the end of the day, like Timon said, I'm always gonna be black. But how I navigate my blackness will be determined by my experiences. While somebody might be like crazy angry, like Eric said about seeing an image of white Jesus, and while somebody might be just like, all right, cool. I like the story. I'm not focusing on the person. So yeah, I would say that my belief, my logic, not just my religion. I wouldn't just say just focused on religion, but just in general logic, my belief.
I got you.
Yeah.
So for me, it's neither one of them takes precedence over the other, and I came to that conclusion because, like I said,
that one too. I'm gonna blend them all in and
but because
I didn't know there was a middle, like you could do and both and or.
That's the approach I'm about to take, because
I'm gonna break it down.
Y'all got some wisdom, bro.
I'm gonna break it down because I think there's no right or wrong answer to it. But for me, just because I'm black, that's who God created me to be. But then I also have a set of beliefs that I follow, right? Religiously. So I'm devoted to these set of beliefs. But when I was talking about it and I was praying on it, and then God gave me two characters, right? He said, well, Peter and Paul. So he said, Paul was called to all people, right? And when they had an argument and they had that little debate, he said, listen, God called me to all these people. He called me to all the world, right? And then Peter said, listen, I'm called to the Jews. So I'm called to the Jews. So one of the things that God showed me is that he said, listen, you can love all people and still have a special love for your people. So for me, I love all people. But because I'm black, like Pastor or Bishop Palmer said, because I'm black, I see through the lens of a black man. I'm gonna the way I articulate, the way I respond to people, the way I see things, I'm gonna see it through the lens of a black man. And the way what Tim said, what Mike said is, I'm going to live a lifestyle, by a code, by a set of beliefs that I think are right, or the things that I've taught, or the things, experiences that I had that said this is right. So I think if you blend, like Tamana is saying, if you blend all of them together, one of them doesn't take precedence over the other. Yes, I am a black man. There's no getting around that. I didn't choose to be black. Yahshua created me black. However, my belief system, what I believe, I do have a choice in that. So for me, because God created me that black, and I'm honored to be what He created me to be, and the beliefs that I have, He set those there. But it's me who had a choice to pick those beliefs up and religiously devote myself to them. To me, they're on an equal playing field. So I love being black. I love my beliefs, but my beliefs tell me that I'm gonna love everybody. Who God created me to be says that I have a special place in my heart for the people that look like me. So that for me, they're hand in hand to me.
Come on. Yeah, drop jewels. Big facts. Big facts.
Timon, we good?
Hey man, listen. I loved everything that was dropped today, man. Definitely gonna take everything back. And I mean, this is one of the reasons why we have these Monday shows is to really just to bring some awareness to some issues that don't really get talked about, and really break some things down, different perspectives. And I mean, from what I got from this is that from your beliefs and your culture, and understanding how to move and use wisdom. I mean, that's the way that you got to move, and there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it, and ultimately it shouldn't be pressed upon somebody the way that you believe versus the way that somebody else should believe. Everybody has their quote unquote truth. You know what I mean? Truth doesn't really have emotions in a sense, but you do have your beliefs. No one can take that from you. That's your justified right. And I mean, but at the same time, I know that there's some truth that needs to be uncovered as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Not like I said, this has been a blessing to me, man.
So y'all know how we do. If nobody else has anything to talk about on the topics that we discussed, which was a lot of them, and I love different perspectives from all walks of life. I mean, no matter where we are. What we do, we give everybody a final thought. So I wanted to go ahead and start with Pastor or Bishop Palmer and say, what's your final thoughts of the day?
Out of all this, man, my final thoughts would be like really study thyself, approve. Eric kind of hit the nail on the head. Exegesis is really needed. Critical study of scripture in the totality, not just through our black lens or through a white lens, but getting your commentary, your Strong's dictionary, and really like unpacking and uncovering, so you can get the full benefit of what you're reading, either from the Quran, any other sacred text. But you know, where I lean is the Bible. So just really like I said, let's study, let's enlighten, and like Tomas said, not not shove our beliefs, but yeah, let's enlighten and just be open to discussion. I think that's the only way to collab and grow. By the discussion, and having a discussion doesn't mean I'm conforming. It just means I am engaging in dialogue that will allow me to grow and make adjustments fruitfully.
Yes, sir. Mike, you got any final thoughts, big man?
My final thoughts, man, from all of this, it makes me want to explore more. And it's so much out there. And it kind of reminds me of a conversation that I had with my grandmother. And she was like, baby, it's not enough time. You'll never get all the answers. You'll never find, you can read as much, and you will never get what you're really looking for. So it just kind of, these kind of conversations just give me the energy to get back out there and to get back into reading and studying different religions and different books, just to get a full understanding of everything. Because like you said, if you look at it biasly with what you know, then you pretty much close yourself off from a whole world. So, man,
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's why we do these shows. Tim won.
I thought I gave my last point.
I thought you did too, but
Yeah.
I ain't gonna get nothing else.
But nah, I mean, just to piggyback off what as you call him, Bishop Tim. I know him as Tim. But growing up as a Christian, I lean towards the Bible, right? And doing more exegesis, that big SAT word, but doing more of that and seeing how a lot of the principles, kind of like what Eric was saying, that can be applied to today is one of the reasons why I want my children to learn Hebrew. And so that, because if we're talking about this Bible, then I want them to understand it in the original text. So that way they can see what I was trying to apply, and hopefully they'll build on that as well. So not to say that I've gotten out of the religious mindset, and in a sense, I do take from different things, but in essence, to be quite honest, a lot of things are the same qualities. So, I mean, even when looking at this and I know truth is a 5%er, but just understanding about knowledge and wisdom, that's in the Bible, that's in the Quran, that's in Judaism. So that to me has pushed me to learn more and to be more knowledgeable, so that way I can have wisdom or apply it to my natural life. So, yep, that's what I got.
So I got a couple things. The first thing I got is I'm relational, right? We're all relational people, but God called me to be like relationships. God called me to relationships, and what I want to say is about religion. I don't really, I don't side with religion. I side with relationship. I think that your success and you grow from the relationship that you have with something. You know what I mean? So your relationship that you have with the Bible, or the relationship that you have with your understanding of the Quran, or the relationship that you have with your friends, or the relationship that you have with money. Like, if you don't have an understanding or a healthy relationship of money or understanding of money, then you will never grow with it. You will never grow and have more and more of it. So that's the first thing or the first point I have is understanding relationship, right? Stop. Religion puts us in a box. Religion says that you can't associate with that person because you're Samaritan, right? But Jesus sat at the well with the lady who was a Samaritan, but the disciples who had a religious mindset and didn't have a relational mindset said he shouldn't be talking to her, right? So the first thing we have to have is we have to have relationship and understand that we were created for relationship, regardless of what our belief systems are, regardless of what we believe. As if I have a relationship with Taman, or if I have a relationship with Mike or Bishop, then I have a better understanding of what they're going through. I have a better understanding of the purpose that Bishop said, the purpose that he is called to. See, Peter and Paul, they had two different purposes. One was called to the world, the other one were called to the Jews. They had two different purposes. Neither one of them were wrong. Neither one of the purposes were wrong. But because they had a relationship, they were able to have a conversation and talk and say, this is where I'm going and this is where you're going. So the first thing I'll say is we have to understand that we're relational people, and we have to have relationship with all people to have a better understanding of the purpose that God has for you and for them. So that's the first thing I have is relational. The other thing I have is love. We got to learn how to love everybody for who they are. Love everybody for the path that they're on. Love everybody for what their beliefs are. Love everybody for who God created them to be. The word said, without love, and this is biblical, and I guarantee it's probably in Quran. It's probably somewhere in the Buddhist book. Without love, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. What it says. It said hope and faith. All those things are good, but without love, none of these things matter. So We all have hope. We all have faith in something. But if I'm pointing at you and saying, well, because you believe this, I really can't associate with you because you believe this, that's not showing love. What love is going to say is what we did today, which we brought a bunch of people from different walks, from different religions, from different beliefs, and brought them together so that we all had a seat at the table, so we had a better understanding of where everybody is coming from. So those are my final thoughts, man, is understand that you're a relational people and start building in relationships. And even if you don't understand or you don't agree with somebody, still love them anyway. But that's my final thoughts. Until next time, we do got some house cleaning stuff. If y'all do like our show, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, follow us on our Instagram page. And again, y'all can always follow us on our Facebook Live every Monday, which are our Awareness Mondays. We do have our sports talk on Wednesdays. So follow us on those days, and sometimes we do get on live on Fridays, but we'll send those posts out as well. But again, that's our show for the day. Tamana, I didn't know if you had anything else to close us out. Nope, that's it. So until next time, speak on it, y'all.